Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 7 of the Big at the Back podcast. I've been told by Matt that he's sure this won't be our worst. So, Matt, how are you?
Well, it won't be our worst. It probably won't be our best. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. I'm sort of still recovering after the long weekend. Definitely getting too old for all this shit. But big game of cricket coming up this weekend. Last game of the season. Currently third in the table. Top two get promoted, and we're playing the team that are top. Winner goes up. So, focusing all my energy, which is why that's my excuse for being rubbish at FPL last weekend. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, you were also at Super Sixes as well, so I imagine you probably weren't in the best state to make reasonable decisions. Is that a fair assumption?
I'm never in a fit state to make reasonable decisions. That just added to the pain. But yeah, no, it was a good weekend.
Yeah, lovely.
You had a nice little jaunt down to Brighton.
Yeah, down to Brighton, went down to the beach, drunk rode the bikes around by the seafront, which was fun. There's electric bikes that require no effort and you can absolutely fly on them. When you're like 7 drinks down, it's great. It's great fun. Not at all dangerous.
Oh, God. I mean, I can imagine you being a nightmare on a regular bike sober, let alone an electric bike drunk.
Yeah, it was something to behold. But, we moved. No one died that we know of. I mean, there are parts that are blacked out, but we won't talk about them. So let's instead talk about fantasy football. And we both had a bit of a shit week. Do you want to kick things off?
I can. Yeah, it was a less than ideal week. So below average, red arrows. 38 points was my total for the week. Once again, Jordan Pickford in goal, who was so close to keeping a clean sheet. So close. But decided not to come for a cross that landed about, it was, by the time it came off Kalajdzic, it was probably about 5 yards off his goal line. So, yeah, that was a bit of a killer. Defense, I mean, White 1 point, Saliba 1 point, Estupinian 1 point. Chilwell just about saving my defense with 6 points. And the story just sort of continues. Diaz 1 point and Bomo 2 points. Saka and Rashford getting me returns, though, with 8 and 7 respectively. João Pedro again doing nothing because even despite Enciso being injured for several months now, he still didn't get a start. So he just picked me up 1 point, and then Haaland with 4 points doubled up to 8 because he missed a fucking penalty. So yeah, it's one of those weeks. It only could have been improved from my bench if I started Areola, who got 5 points. If he didn't concede that late goal, then it would have been a lot more painful for me from an FPL perspective.
Yeah, I imagine. If it's any consolation, I also had a rubbish week, and
that is a lot of a consolation.
I got 40 points. So the different players I had from you was basically just I had Salah and Matoma, who got me 5 and 1 points in the middle, and I had Johnston in goal, who got 2 points. So he was the 2 points more than I got from you with Pickford.
No, Pickford got 2.
Oh, right. Okay. In that case, then, yeah, basically identical. But Johnston, with Dean Henderson looking like he's going to Crystal Palace, I think Johnston's got to be on his way out soon from my FPL team. But yeah, really forgettable week overall, although a very interesting week from FPL. So things I think we should speak about today is who is good at the moment? Who are the teams and players we really, really want to be getting in FPL? Who is not good? So who's a trap? Who are the people we want to be hard avoiding? And then I want to dig into some teams that I think are really interesting, either because we own them or we don't own them, or we should own them, or a combination of all of those. So Newcastle, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, and to an extent Brentford as well, and Tottenham Hotspur as well. So let's dive in. So things we think we know. Who is good at the moment in the Barclays Premier League and, by extension, fantasy football? Matthew Higgins, go.
My sort of key takeaway, I guess, is City look better defensively than they did last season. I know, obviously, they did concede a goal against Sheffield United of all sides, but having only conceded one in their first three, and when one of those sides they did play was Newcastle, who a lot of people expect to be sort of not challenging City per se, but definitely a top four side as they showed last season. So that's a big takeaway for me so far. They seem to have sort of tidied things up a little bit at the back. So maybe City defenders are back on the menu. Although, as always with City, which ones you go for is the really difficult thing to decide.
I think we had this chat midweek. I think Kyle Walker seems like he's the one that's most nailed to start at the moment.
Yeah, I think that probably makes the most sense. And I think there's a lot of, I mean, Laporte's just left. So that's one less person we've got to worry about. But other than that, obviously, you've still got Stones, Ake, Akanji, Gvardiol, Diaz. Walker just seems to be the only one that hasn't really got an obvious challenger for his place. And Cancelo is off to Barcelona.
He is, finally. But Walker's got 90 minutes in the last 3 games, so I think he's a bit of a no-brainer when it comes to City defenders, especially as Guardiola's just had a price increase to 5.1, whereas Walker's at 5.1 as well. Either way, still a worthwhile option, and I would say a safe 6 points every week. Or most weeks.
Yeah. Less of the every week. Don't be putting words in my mouth like that. But no, I think he's definitely seems to be the safe one. And the other thing, like, I think annoyingly, and it fucking pains me to say this.
You're going to say Rodri?
No. Rodri, I think over the course of a season, Rodri can't keep up this form. I'm going to move away from City and I'm going to mention Spurs.
They look so good. They looked really, really good.
Fucking hate it.
You know what? I do love Ange Postecoglou. I think every interview he does is he's just funny and he's just personable and likable. And he's clearly very emotionally intelligent. He's got Basuma playing brilliantly. We thought Spurs were going to be really leaky defensively, but that's because we remembered Spurs having Højbjerg playing, who, as I said 100 times, is a really rubbish footballer. Now Basuma is in there. They're looking defensively solid. They've got a great new keeper. That new centre-back, I've lost his name.
Van der Merwe, is it? Or
Yes,
something like that. I think no, it's not Van der Merwe. Roloff Van der Merwe is a cricketer. So Van der Ven, something like that.
Yeah, someone like that. Anyway, he looked really good. And Basuma sitting in front of them. Now, I'm not saying get Basuma on FPL, but I am saying he makes the Spurs defence a lot more appealing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will now be moving for Destiny Udogie after his big haul.
His pronunciation is Udogie, sorry. Udogie. I'm not joking.
Is that what you say to your wife?
I'm not joking. It is Destiny Udogie.
Well, I'm not saying that because I want to be able to do it with a stroke. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, a lot of people will be moving for him now. Yeah, and like you say, Postecoglou just seems an absolute barrel of laughs as well. So did you see him in the TNT Sports Studio post-match as he went in to do an interview with Joe Cole and whoever else they had there in the studio? And he was getting mic'd up, so the guy sort of reached up his shirt. Yeah, he was like, "Cool, at least introduce yourself first, mate."
I also liked his little thing about, I'm really annoyed because I don't get to play FPL this year because I'm an actual manager, so it wouldn't be fair. I normally beat all my mates in the mini league. So, brilliant. Really like his style of football, though, and what he's done with Basuma makes Spurs really good defensively. Going forwards, James Maddison looks awesome. Everything is going through him. I think he's a buy in FPL for these next 2 games. He looks really, really good. And you talked me out of getting Maddison in favour of Richarlison at the beginning of the season. And
no, that is not true.
It's
in my first draft, I had Maddison, and then you were like, "Yeah, but if Kane leaves, Richarlison's going to be playing up front." So I went, Oh, that's a good point. So it's all your fucking fault.
So was I wrong?
Yes, you're always wrong.
Richarlison has been playing up front. Problem is, he's still Richarlison, and we forgot that. I think this is a collective big at the back fuck up. We forgot that Richarlison is still Richarlison. That being said, if you've been stupid enough to have Richarlison for the first 3 games, like we have, then you need to hold him for the next 2, because as soon as you move him out, especially if it's before either of these next 2 games, he's gonna score a hat trick. That's just that was just Richarlison.
Yeah, I hate it.
So do I. I wish I had Maddison instead, but I'm not moving Richarlison out on a transfer when his next 2 games are he's the forwards, and his next 2 games are Burnley away and Sheffield United at home. That's not happening.
If you've got him now, you're stuck with him for the next 2 weeks. And then we've got that beautiful international break to contend with and wild card and get rid of him, because that's probably what I'm going to do.
Oh, you're going to be thinking of an early wild card. I'm thinking of saving mine until about game week 9, because then the fixtures turn for loads of clubs. So, yeah, I really don't want to use the early one. Unless there's loads of injuries in the international break, then I will.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't really hate the only thing is I would have loved to be in a position now where I've got a transfer in the bank, but 2 weeks, 2 injuries, I've had no other choice than to use both my transfers so far. So if I hold this week, then I can probably make it and I can get through without having to wildcard. But I just love wildcarding. It's so much fun.
It is, especially on an international break as well.
Gives you something to do for 2 weeks, doesn't it?
Yeah, completely. And you can chase the price rises and
it's great.
Do you think we shouldn't be looking at reputation, we should be looking at evidence? And the evidence so far is suggesting to me that Arsenal defensively are not looking particularly good right now. You're doubled up on the Arsenal defence, right?
I am indeed. White and Saliba.
Gabriel's off, right? He's obviously going to Saudi. I mean,
he's got to be going somewhere.
Otherwise, this is absolute madness from Arteta.
Or they've just had some sort of big falling out. But there's something's going on. He's not just not good enough or whatever, because he had a great season last season. So something's happened.
Yeah, it's frustrating because I always had Saliba, and Saliba was my preferred choice. Then everyone swapped to him right at the death. So I'm like, But I think defensively, Arsenal, if they keep this formation, they've got away with it a bit in the first 3 games. And I think they're going to get caught out one too many times.
Yeah, and just, I mean, obviously they shot themselves in the foot in the first minute on Saturday. So that's always going to be hard to recover from. You can't account for those moments really. And it wasn't even a defender's fault. I don't think it was a loose pass from someone in the midfield. I can't remember who. Might have even been Saka. Just a loose pass that was latched onto. So yeah, it's disappointing for me, definitely. And I think this week's going to be a matter of probably having to bench one of. I don't know. Fucking hate it, Tom.
Something else I've learned as well, and I didn't want to move on him last week, but Raheem Sterling looks the real deal. And I just wanted that one extra week to check, but he's top of my priority list. And when I make my transfers on Friday, he's coming in for me 100%.
Who does he come in for?
Mo Salah.
Bold.
So here's a bit of a spoiler. I have my transfers plans. Salah to Sterling, João Pedro to Jackson, and Emerson Royale. I'm prepared to accept that I made that mistake because I thought he was starting. So I'm going to move him out, and I'm going to bring in either Ugodi or Walker. Probably Walker, because I like the idea of 2 City.
Look at you with your fucking transfers.
It'll be a -4, I know.
Yeah,
but
at least you've got that sort of flexibility.
Yeah, and it will free up. It will still give me money in the bank, so I can look at upgrading Mbama all the way to a Darwin Nunez or an Alexander Isak if I want to later on.
Question for you as a Liverpool fan: do you think that Nunez is cameo 2-goal winning performance at the weekend increases the likelihood that he gets a starting role?
Increases, yes. Guarantees, no. So I think Darwin Nunez's 2-goal cameo, fantastic. But if you're being honest and you watch that game, Diogo Jota changed that game and turns it around coming off the bench. He was unlucky not to start. I think Diogo Jota is the hardest working player in the Premier League. He is an absolute pressing machine. So I think Jota is more likely still to get the start than Darwin, but Darwin certainly hasn't hurt his chances with 2 goals in that 15 minutes coming off the bench. And you know what? When Darwin Nunez was lining up in the touchline, I turned around and said, this is perfect. This is amazing. Because Darwin Nunez, we're 1-0 down, and we're lucky to be 1-0 down because of some Alisson heroics. 15 minutes to go. We're not looking likely. At this point, you just want a bit of chaos. Darwin can come in and headbutt someone and get a red card within a minute, or he could go and win us the game. And you don't know what you're going to get, but you know it's going to be chaotic. That's what we needed. And he went and won us the game. It could easily...
To be fair, if he did come on and headbutt someone and got sent off, you'd probably still say the refs were against you.
I mean, let's not get that started, because that's 2 games in a row, 2 bullshit red cards. Trent should have probably been sent off, but he was fouled in the build-up to his first yellow, so probably should have only had 1 yellow.
But that's irrelevant at that point. But he should have got a second yellow, but he didn't.
The Van Dijk red card was absolutely nonsensical, absolutely ridiculous. Not a red card by any
stretch. He's the last man. It's a foul. It's a red card.
It wasn't the last man. Nonsense.
It was. He's the last man.
Wasn't a goal scoring opportunity. We can disagree.
He's through on goal.
We can disagree to the cows come home on this. But regardless, despite the failure on FPL from me, I was very, very happy with that Liverpool win. And it felt quite jammy. What are we thinking about Newcastle after that match? Because not had the best starts, but both of the last 2 games can probably consider themselves a little bit unlucky. And we know their fixtures turn soon. So from game week 6, they have Sheffield United, Burnley, West Ham, Crystal Palace, Wolves, and then a nice easy one in Arsenal. But from 6 till 10, they look really, really strong. So what's your perspective on Newcastle right now?
I don't know. I think you can say they're unlucky, but I would argue they were naive on Sunday. They should. That's if you want to go on to the next level, they're the games you have to see out. You're 1-0 up, 10 minutes to play, 10 men for the opposition. It's inexcusable, and I'm sure Eddie Howe will have been ripping into them in the changing rooms afterwards. I don't know. They're hard. They're a difficult one for me at the moment. I think when those fixtures turn, as long as he's still their main man, Isak will be very tempting because you'd expect them to create chances. You'd expect him to be on the end of a lot of them, and he just seems like the main man for me. But I don't know. I don't think defensively they're really catching the eye at the moment. So I don't think I'll be rushing to bring any defenders in. And across the middle, again, in the midfielders, unless you're going Anthony Gordon, which you're probably not, the strikers are the only options really that are really appealing.
I don't mind a Botman pick if he's not injured. I also think I'm going to really watch Newcastle very carefully over the next 2 games, because in a perfect world, I'd like to own Trippier for that little run of 5 games. I think he could be a really, really nice option for that little run in particular. But I'd need to see a little bit more than him. And the next 2 games are Brighton away and Brentford at home. Neither are easy games, but neither are the toughest in the world at the moment. Brighton in particular are going to really want to come back after that win. But before we move on to that, you spoke about how Newcastle, if they want to be a top team and go to the next level, if they're 1 goal up against 10 men with 10 minutes to go. So, shall we chat about Arsenal versus Fulham?
That's mental, really, that they've thrown that away, and it's just a fucking simple set piece. Palhinha tucks it away very nicely.
The first goal was horrendous from Ramsdale. Terrible from Saka giving the ball away like that, but Ramsdale, shocking.
Yeah,
He's
he
probably
just.
not first choice now. He's surely losing his place.
I think it's probably Raya is definitely going to be licking his lips having watched that,
Mm.
and like I understand him wanting to get back towards goal as quickly as possible. He's just turned the wrong way, never got himself set, and when Andreas takes it on early, he's in the complete wrong position. He's basically got his back to the ball, which is the last thing you want as a goalkeeper. So he's lost sight of it. And if he was just backing towards goal and facing the ball, it would have been the easiest collection for him because Pereira does not hit it sweetly at all. In fact, he pretty much scuffs it, but manages to get away with it. So yeah, and then they get themselves back ahead. And you think it's just over and done with them because Calvin Bassey goes and gets himself sent off for an absolutely stupid second yellow when his first one was for time wasting. And then a simple free kick, he just ghosts in between two men. And that's the sort of shit you can't be doing if you want to be challenging for a title.
Yeah. I don't think Arsenal are challenging for the title this year. I think they're challenging for top 4 this year, based on the first 3 games. Although...
Isn't it funny how Declan Rice has left to go and challenge for titles and West Ham are the ones that are in the title race?
You're going to lose to Luton this weekend.
I know we are. That's why I'm making the most of it now.
Like as soon as European football starts, you're going to go straight away lose to Luton. That is going to be the most West Ham thing ever. Before we do that, though, I do want to talk about the fact that Gabriel Jesus is back for Arsenal, or he's coming back this weekend. Now, that means a few things. Number one, Gabriel Martinelli is going to be better because the Gabriels can't play without each other. So with Gabriel not playing, having fallen out with Arteta, it means Gabriel in the middle isn't playing that well. So he's not getting the transition ball and he's not being able to link up with Gabriel up top.
There's just too many Gabriels here.
Exactly. Your name's easy.
That's why one's got to go.
But I think Jesus being back means his link-up play with Martinelli is going to be important. I think Martinelli is just about a hold. Saka back on penalties was really interesting. Was listening to some Arsenal fans from my Sims who were saying that actually the penalty situation, if Saka wants it, he gets it. But if he doesn't feel up to it, he looks to Odegaard and Odegaard takes it.
That's just a fucking nightmare for FPL, though, isn't it?
Doesn't give me a lot of confidence. Maybe
and surely, if you're the penalty, you should only be on pens if you are always going to be confident that you can bury it. There should should you ever, as a footballer in general, but a penalty taker specifically, think, "Oh, I don't fancy this."
No, you should never, especially if you're a forward. You should always be thinking, "Yeah, I fancy this. I'm going to score."
Outrageous, if you ask me.
Yeah, horrendous. But that's kind of useless for FPL, but I think Saka is a hold. In the Man U versus Arsenal match coming up, it's worth noting that in the last 4 Man U v Arsenal games, Rashford has 3 goals and 1 assist, and Saka has 3 goals. So both of whom are going to be staying in my team, not going anywhere. Go on then. Let's chat about West Ham.
Yay! Massive, mate. I mean, we have spoken at length over the last couple of years about West Ham's terrible record against Brighton. And me and a couple of mates who I used to do the Pretty Bubbers pod with, we whacked a tenner on West Ham to win before the game, which returned almost 60 quid. That was how long the odds were for us to win that game. It came about 57 quid or something like that. So when we got that second goal and got the early payout, we were absolutely buzzing. And then we were thinking, right, do we stick a tenner on Brighton now? We were absolutely convinced that we were just working up. But then we got the third quickly afterwards. And yeah, I mean, scored 7 goals in 3 games with about 24% possession as an average across those 3 games. It's going to be a different story on Friday night when we'll probably have to have more of the ball. And that will be when we'll struggle to break teams down. But I think it's really important to mention that we've invested the Rice money well. James Ward-Prowse has come in, 2 games, 2 assists and a goal. Edson Alvarez made his full debut and he looks very good and very composed in the centre and midfield. And we've obviously just signed Mohamed Kudus as well, who's just come in. So we'll see if he comes in. Probably not to the starting 11 straight away, I would imagine. But he is in FPL as a 6.5 million midfielder, if you fancy having an eye on him over the next few weeks. But obviously we need more depth with the Europa League and everything like that. But I think Bowen and Antonio have both started the season very well. Bowen and Antonio both took their goals beautifully. Bowen's especially, the ball over from Ben Rama, the touch and the finish was just sexual.
Yeah, it was. West Ham just took their chances far better. Worth also noting that West Ham, with Kudus, with Bowen, with Antonio, from game week 10 through to game week 14, you've got a run of Everton at home, Brentford away, Nottingham Forest at home, Burnley away, Crystal Palace at home. The Brentford match aside, that will be tough. But the rest of them, that looks like prime Jared Bowen or Mohamed Kudus territory. So I think that could be a really, really nice opportunity to get West Ham, providing you're not too bogged down by the Europa League. Brighton, they are going to be pissed off. They're going to be angry after that match because they absolutely dominated West Ham in every area except the one that mattered. I feel like Ferguson didn't have a great game watching it. He was just quite static, and that might be on account of he hasn't started for a long time, but I don't think he was great for them. João Pedro, it's interesting, is actually getting a bit of the Darwin Núñez at Liverpool treatment, the Darwin Núñez treatment, in that he doesn't really gel with everyone else yet. He doesn't really understand what they're saying or where they need him to be, so he's being slowly integrated. So I'm just not keen on João Pedro as an asset anymore, so I'll be moving him on. But that aside, I think there's still goals in the next. Brighton's fixtures turn. They've got Newcastle, Man U, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Liverpool as their next 5. So while they're much tougher fixtures, I can't see a world where Brighton don't score in every single one of them.
It wouldn't surprise you, would it? They've got, I think, is it the highest XG for and like the third highest XG against so far? Like their XG for and XG against are both like 7 after 3 games, which is fucking insane. But yeah, it just seems like chaos when Brighton are on the pitch at the moment, and I love it. And don't get me wrong, I think Areola kept West Ham in this game at points with some fantastic saves. So, like, there was easily a world where they get a point from that game.
Brighton's expected goals so far for the season is 8.9, which is absolutely wild for 3 games. To compare, Manchester City is 7.47. So yeah, Brighton look the real. Oh, I can't wait for Brighton to play Everton. That's going to be a massacre.
Imagine when Everton win that 1-0.
Oh, just wild, isn't it?
Fulham 1, Spurs 0 in the Carabao Cup.
The Maddison not starting, Ugodi, not starting for Spurs. So you never know. This could be Richarlison's hat-trick game. We'll see.
I bet it isn't.
Regardless, I think there are... Yeah, Brighton, for me, attacking players are a hold. What's your thoughts on Estupinian? Are you tempted to sell?
No, not really, no. He still gets into very good attacking positions. So even though they've got tougher fixtures coming up, you can easily see a world where he gets a goal and an assist over the next 3 or 4 fixtures, potentially even a clean sheet in there because one of those games is Bournemouth at home. So, and with the amount of people that own him, I think it's just too much of a risk to sell him.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, to be honest. I think you own him for the attacking threat more than the defensive. If he gets defensive clean sheets, it's a bonus. He's basically what you want from Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah, I think you're right there. He's probably, other than potentially Chilwell, he just seems like the most must-have defensive asset at the moment.
Yeah, I would say so. Looking around elsewhere then, Manchester United, it's about time Bruno and Rashford got some returns, but really unconvincing win.
Just a bit, yeah. I did see that this is the earliest that Manchester United have ever been 2 goals down in a Premier League game.
Yes.
But I guess when you're looking at it and you're looking at this fixture, the one person that you want to talk about is Taiwo Awoniyi, who's now scored in 7 consecutive Premier League games. He's closing in on the Jamie Vardy record of 11.
I don't think he'll get there. The next game is Chelsea away. So
Yeah, but imagine the scenes.
Chelsea away, then Burnley at home, then Man City away. That's going to be the stumbling block, surely, going away to the Etihad.
But that would be the game that goes, well, that'd be 10, wouldn't it? Oh, just seen the Fulham goal was a Van der Ven own goal after we've just been talking about him.
So we really, really hate Richarlison. We know he's shit. He's never going to score again. Come on, football gods.
Crystal Palace are losing to Plymouth.
Palace looks so out of sorts at the moment.
They're already in their rightful position in the league table, though, 11th. That is just Crystal Palace.
Well, I know someone that went to the Palace Brentford game, and they actually said Eze was by far and away the best player on the pitch. And I was like,
that doesn't surprise me.
I was like, okay, so should we bring him in an FPL? And they were like, absolutely not. And I'm like, hold on, why? Because he was really good, but he was just surrounded by complete and utter dross.
Yeah.
If he played for a Chelsea or a Liverpool or a City or a United, he would be sensational.
Or a West Ham.
If he played for a Chelsea or a Liverpool or United, he would be sensational. But Crystal Palace is an absolute non-starter. 3 nice fixtures next: Wolves at home, Aston Villa away, Fulham at home. So you're not selling, but I think you've got other players in those positions who can be really well. In particular, Diaby for Aston Villa, goal and an assist. Liverpool next, really not the red fixture you think it is for an attacker.
No, definitely not. And then Palace, but then Chelsea and Brighton a bit tougher. But 8 onwards, that looks nice.
That looks very nice. So that's when you want to be moving on Aston Villa assets. Anyone else you want to touch on before we move into the next stage, which is an update on our joint team and betting fund?
My favourite thing is when you look at the fixture, like FDR, like the best looking side at the moment is Luton. It's just like no one is moving for Luton assets, are they?
Luton's next games are Man U at home, Fulham away, Wolves at home, Everton away, Tottenham at home, Forest away, Villa away. They look like some very nice fixtures. What do you think? Are you getting? I can't even say any Luton players. There's one beginning with
Colton Morris. Is that his name? The striker?
Yeah, Colton Morris. That's it. You're not going
to
any Luton players.
I don't know. I think you should do it.
I do like the look of Liverpool's fixtures, you know. After the Villa match, which is tough, they've got Wolves away, West Ham at home, and then it's Tottenham away, Brighton away. But then it's 2 home fixtures in a row of Everton, Nottingham Forest, and then they're away to Luton. So I think game week 9 onwards, as much as I'm selling Salah now, could be coming back in for that wild card.
I mean, there's never a point when you're going to write Salah off, is there? So,
yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And they've got a run from game week 14 to 16 where it's Fulham, Sheffield United and Palace. I've got to stop trying to find excuses here. I'm not going to do it. Okay, brilliant. Well, Matt.
And also you can't look that far ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Everything might have changed by then. And Darwin Nunez might be on 1,000 goals. Shall we talk about our joint team to start with? Because we had a bit of a shit week this week, didn't we?
We did indeed. A grand total of 33 points. So after a fairly good week the week before, it came crashing back down to earth this week. So Areola, 5 points. Trent 1. Saliba 1. Stupinian 1. Walker 2. Our highest scorer in our back 4. Richarlison 0. 1 for Luis Diaz, 5 for Salah, 8 for Saka, and then Haaland captain and Pedro with 1 point. So, yeah, a very disappointing week, but I still feel like overall it's not a bad side.
I think we need to take a -4, drop Richarlison and João Pedro for Or maybe not, actually. I'm just trying to think, because I want to go Richarlison to Maddison, but I'm not sure João Pedro can be replaced with another starting player, and we need another starting player there. We'll have to discuss our transfers, see what we're doing. It might be a case of dropping Mo Salah and taking a -8.
Ooh, that's bold.
Yeah, dropping Salah down to a Bruno Fernandes, for example, and then you taking Richarlison up to
Or Jared Bowen.
Oh, that sounds fun. We could do that. Oh, that sounds fun. Let's do that. We'll discuss this on WhatsApp. Time for our betting funds, and this was a bit of fun. It started out 50 quid, £25 each, and we said we're going to back the Super Boost and also have a look to see if there's any nice accumulators that we like and we want to get in front of. So our initial £50 is now up to £100. So we've doubled our money so far.
Easy, innit, mate?
We should become professional gamblers.
We haven't got a gambling problem. We're winning.
Exactly. It's only a problem to ask for help. As long as you never ask for help, it's not a problem. Seriously, don't take that as gospel. Gambling is an addiction, and gambling sites and companies are very evil.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fun, isn't it?
It is fun.
That's what Tony said.
So that's going well, much better than we are on FPL. Plans for transfers for this week, Matthew?
I haven't got a fucking clue, Thomas. It's a really hard one for me at the moment because, like I say, I'm not enamoured with the double Arsenal defence, but I don't really think it's worth taking either of them out. I want to get rid of João Pedro now, but again, is it worth it, or do I roll the transfer for this week and then have the extra one for after the international break? It's kind of what I'm leaning towards at the moment. And then it will be easier for me to maybe take a -4 after the international break and jig my side around a little bit more then.
I mean, you've got 12 playing players, so making a transfer isn't necessary because you could always bench João Pedro. But making 2 transfers, taking a -4 sounds a bit more fun, doesn't it?
It does in the short term, don't get me wrong. But I think long term, I think if I stick with Pedro as benched, and then my starting 11 will be Areola, White, Estupinian, Saliba, Chilwell, Rashford, Saka, and Mbeumo, Diaz, Richarlison, Haaland.
Doesn't sound too bad.
I can live with that.
Yeah, sounds quite nice. My bus team at the moment has Johnston, then a back 4 of Estupinian, Saliba, Chilwell, and Baldock. Midfield 5 of Salah, Rashford, Richarlison, Saka, and Matoma, and Haaland up top with the armbands. I am likely going to go Salah to Sterling, João Pedro to Jackson, and Royale to Walker. That's probably going to be my moves for this week.
That does sound fun.
It's -4, but I think it's worth it for rejigging my team around, getting treble Chelsea for this really good run of fixtures, going and being a bit different. No one else is going 3 Chelsea, everyone else is going 2. And for their fixtures until game week 8, they look very promising and very nice. So I think Chelsea is still the place you want to go.
I do want to say that before he scored on Friday night, you were telling me how rubbish Nicholas Jackson was.
He was rubbish in the first half, really shit. Kind of turned around in the second half. And don't get me wrong, I still think he's a shit player. But it was genius management from Pochettino because you're 2-0 up, you're in control, but the opposition are starting to push ahead. And instead of taking a striker off, he keeps him on because he knows this is the best opportunity for a striker to get a goal. There's no pressure. Luton are trying to push forwards, leaving space in behind, leaving your striker on the pitch so he can get off the mark. Genius man management from Pochettino.
That has always been a strength of Pochettino, is man management.
I also like that he started in the first week, he had Sterling playing in a certain way, and Sterling in his interview said, actually, he could tell I wasn't good. So Poch came around me and asked me what was wrong, and I said, I don't really like playing like this. I actually want to play like this in a more direct Raheem Sterling way that we know him for. And Poch said, okay, fine, let's do that. Changed the system around slightly and got Sterling playing like Sterling did 5 years ago. And look what happened against Luton. Poch's man management is exceptional. alongside Klopp, he is the best in the league at it.
And then you look at their fixtures alongside that,
Yeah,
and it's just you got to do something, haven't you?
you've got to go in at least 2 Chelsea. I'm going 3 because YOLO. Let's go.
Yeah, fuck it, why not? Eh?
Yeah, let's have some fun. Right, that is everything for today. Not our worst, I agree, but we'll see how it turns out this week when we inevitably both get below average again and crash and burn. So good luck, everyone. Deadline is Friday evening, so make those transfers Friday morning. There's European football in between, so hold off making any moves till after that. You're not going to be affected by price rises this year because every player is affordable, so hold your nerve. Anything else you need, you can find us on Twitter. We are at Big at the Back.
Yep, and I'm at Higgins92. Tom is at Tom Madden92. Like he says, Friday night football again under the lights at Kenilworth Road for the first time this season as their stadium upgrades have been completed. And it will be lucky West Ham that travel. So that'll be an interesting one for me to watch. Luton, if they're going to get anything this season, will need to really rely on their home form. So it'll be a strange one. And I'm also looking forward to Friday morning, the draws for the European group stages. So we will both find out who we will be playing in the Europa League in the group stages this season. Mate, it's weird, isn't it? West Ham and Liverpool in the same European competition.
I'm sure it's happened before, surely.
Not in my lifetime. Well, not in my since I've been a fan, because you've always been pretty much always Champions League, and West Ham have these last 3 years have been our first real foray into European competition in decades.
Yeah, I guess so. I still remember Fulham winning the UEFA Cup. Or no, they lost in the finals after Atletico Madrid. Damn it. Poor Fulham.
After beating Juventus coming from behind in the second leg.
Clint Dempsey masterclass, that was.
Bobby Zamora.
Bobby Zamora, God. Right, we could go all day, so I digress. Have a great week, everyone, and good luck.